Hey guys, Coldbrew here. Welcome back to another raid video. So this will be basically the first video coming in to introduce 2026. Maybe you're a new player. Maybe you're a player who started a little bit before the year 2026. But I wanted to make this video as basically a guide moving forward for basically every player out there who is maybe lost on where he should be going with his account, and he's maybe looking for specific guidance for his account. Well, that is not easy to give to every single one of you guys out there, specific guidance on where your account is, but I'll give you guys guidance on where you should be focusing on, and with these simple like checkpoints on where you should be progressing and what you should be doing with your account, you'll be able to push forward and just enjoy the game as you want, right? So who am I? I've been playing this game for, I believe, since 2019. I've been playing Raid Shadow Legends. I've been covering it. I have over 2,000 videos on the game. I've done multiple free-to-play challenges where I was pushing a new account with basically zero resources, free-to-play completely, not spending. This is my main account. I have spent on this account, and I am a content creator, so I do get benefits on this one. But for the most part, I would say that I consider myself basically a low spender to zero spender the last 2 years or so, but I was much a bigger spender when I first started the game. So I do have knowledge of both being a spender and a free-to-play, and just basically I know the game and how you see the game as a new player, both through my own gameplay, but also from when I do coachings for other players. When a new player starts and they're basically lost, they ask me, I give them some coaching, and I just explain them specifically tailored to their own account on very specific steps. And through those types of coachings that I do, I wanted to make this video for you guys, to make it like a complete guide that's free out there, that's for everybody, and they can follow this step by step in order to improve their account. So first things first, if you're just starting out, then you're basically stuck with rare champions. Okay, you'll have a couple of rare champions. Maybe you'll have the rare that you picked at the start fully maxed out. Maybe you had some sort of code or promotion where you had a couple of legendaries. That can vary depending on the time of the year that you started. If it's right now, I believe there's like some sort of codes that can give you like 2 legendaries and then some epics and stuff like that. That did not exist when I first started. I never used a code or anything like that, but now it just makes people want to start the game and try out the game much quicker when they have these sort of incentives. Anyway, the point is, when you're first starting out, the biggest thing that your account is lacking is having more champions at level 60 and masteries. This takes a long time since this game is very grindy. It takes effort to level up your champions. So what you want to be doing is trying to get as many 6 stars as possible, and especially the first 5-6 stars, I would say are the most crucial for your account, because those will carry you forward to the other parts of the game. The first 5-6 stars or so will take you a long time, and it's not that it's gonna be just the 6 stars first and then everything else. As you see, guys, I've got over 600 champions at level 60, so that's a lot of grinding over the years, and it has been made much easier with the addition of chickens that you could use in the tavern, and then other optimizations throughout the year, such as the double raids that you can do now for double XP, meaning you have the time that you spend in the campaign farming. So once you're pushing through with your account and getting those champions to level 60, you'll be basically at a point where you want to be farming Minotaur. Minotaur, if you can get a squad to farm Minotaur 15, then you'll be efficient enough to not having to consider using gems for masteries. You'll be farming stage 15. There's also double raids available for this, so it is much less time now spent in trying to get your masteries for your champions. And also, guys, Minotaur gives you a little bit of silver and experience when you're leveling up champions in here. So for the most part, I would suggest to everyone to be spending their time on Minotaur's Labyrinth to get their masteries if they can farm stage 15. If not, you can farm only stage 14 or 13. Use gems instead, because the efficiency is just not there. You're only saving gems, so about 100 to 150 gems per champion that you're trying to get masteries for. You're only saving these when you're doing stage 15. And talking about gems, the biggest thing out there that exists for players is the gem mine. This is basically worth it only if you're playing the game for the long run. If you're somebody who's just starting raid and you think, oh, this is just something I spend my time on, I know myself, I know I'll delete this game in 2 months time, this is not going to be worth it. Okay, in terms of the gems you spend to upgrade this and to start getting that passive accumulation of gems, it's just not going to be worth it, guys. It is what it is. It's all up to you and how you know yourself. If you're somebody who quits these sort of games all the time, just use your gems, have some fun with the game, and just, you know, you're gonna uninstall, right? So might as well just enjoy the game a little bit more. But eventually, if you're somebody who knows, like, okay, I'm liking this game, I'm enjoying it enough, I can see myself grinding through every single day, then this gem mine will pay itself off after a certain amount of time. I believe it's 100 days or so, if I am remembering correctly. It hasn't changed since the start of the game. It hasn't been changed at all. So with that in mind, consider this as a good investment. It gives you 15 gems per day, and to max it out, you need a certain amount of gems, which you will recover through those 100 or so days. The other upgrades that you can purchase is the Guardian's Ring here, the Sparring Pit. I do not recommend purchasing the upgrades for these, but eventually you'll be unlocking all of these, I would say, after a long while. But these are not worth opening up right at the start. You want to be using your gems for masteries and for specific fusions if you're capable to do so. Missions will basically guide you on how to complete the game and give you more information on learning the game of Raid Shadow Legends. If you're somebody who's still struggling with understanding a lot of things, follow through all of the Arbiter missions. Try to get Arbiter, all right? It will take you a while, but every single one of these missions has some sort of challenge that teaches you little things about the game, such as farming potions, farming the arenas, upgrading specific things, knowing which areas of the game gives you specific items. So for example, farming gloves, chest, and boots for a specific stage in campaign can give you those and just help you push your account further. And with that also, I want to say that if you're somebody who's struggling with, let's say, farming the speed set through the dragon, you can just go to the campaign, go to the speed stage and farm boots here as an example, get some 5-star boots going, and that's going to give you like the benefit. So those missions teach you in a way on where you can find these sort of items, but I'm telling you guys as part of this guide. The quickest way to level up your account, by the way, so you see my account level 100, is just strictly spending energy. Spending it in the campaign rather than in dungeons will give you on the hardest difficulty that you can do, which is usually stage 12-3 for everybody, which is also efficient for silver through selling the shields. The shields have a higher cost when you sell them rather than the boots, and the difference in experience is basically minimal. I believe 1% difference on stage 3 to stage 6. So the worth of the selling of the shields is so much better than the boots. Nightmare campaign is only worth it to do the one-time rewards. For the most players out there, the majority of players out there, farming campaign on Nightmare is not worth it because you don't get any green shards, which are the mystery shards, which you can use to finish fusions, and you can use that to get more rares. And it's a good resource to have as a way to optimize events, right? And talking about fusions, guys, you don't need to be doing every single fusion or event that pops up here. These are made tailored to make you use your resources. Raid is basically a game where you are managing your resources at all times. All of these keys that you can use and different resources that you have, these are all for you to control and plan ahead. That is the biggest thing about Raid. It's if you're somebody who's free to play or a brand new player, you can't go blindly opening up your shards at all times. Can't go blindly using up all your energy and silver if you are not, if you don't have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you'll just be wasting a lot of those mentioned resources, and you're just gonna have a bad time, honestly. If you're somebody who doesn't care, do what you want, right? If you're somebody who doesn't care to be so efficient, just do what you want, play at your own pace, and enjoy the game how you think you'll enjoy it. But the thing is, there's only specific times when there's a 2x going on for shards, and that is the best time to summon when you're a new player. 2x on shards gives you a better chance for a legendary. Legendaries are so much stronger than epics for the most part, and especially void legendaries. I'll give you an example. Primal shard, these are very difficult to get. Even for endgame players, you'll get a limited amount, and there's very few times that you'll have a 2x boost for here. So don't worry too much about this, but again, this might change in the future, maybe in the near future, who knows. Sacred shards, these are basically the source of most legendaries, I would say. I got more legendaries from sacred shards than ancient shards. I would say I'm comfortable to say that. And sacred shards are very easy to get once you start doing clan boss. Clan boss is the first boss that you'll encounter where some sort of strategy needs to be taken in there. In order to beat this boss, you'll need to have a certain amount of stats. And as you go up in difficulties, those stats will increase. If you're running a team that is killable, meaning it cannot survive through the boss and does not have some sort of protection through a block damage buff or an unkillable buff, killable teams have to run speed, a lot of speed for the most part, and they'll have to run defense, for example, higher than 3000, accuracy for your champions that can apply debuffs. For the most part, you need more than 200 accuracy for, I would say, Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare. And that's how this boss works. This should be your first priority where you're using those 5 champions that I mentioned before to get the maximum damage that you can. And as you're progressing through with getting the maximum damage that you possibly can, you'll notice that these chests, let's say, for example, the normal difficulty, if you can get the adept chest here, it's because you did this damage to this amount of damage in terms of range. As you're doing more and more damage, the names of these chests change. So the night chest is the final reward of normal, which gives you these rewards randomly. When you go to hard, you can see that the chests have now these names that you saw before, the night chest being the third reward here, and there's the guardian chest on hard difficulty. On brutal, you see the guardian chest being the second reward. The grandmaster chest is on brutal, the final reward, and then once you go into nightmare, all right, things change with the ultimate chest, and then on ultra nightmare with completely different names, eventually having the transcendent chests, which is the best reward out there. Sacred shards can very easily be acquired from this one. I routinely had months of having more than 5 or 6 sacred shards in a month of rewards just from Ultra Nightmare and Nightmare, which is the only 2 difficulties I give sacred shards. So this is why this mode is the most important mode in Raid Shadow Legends by far. The most important mode. You shouldn't be caring about Hydra, Chimera, and all that until you have a very good team for Ultra Nightmare difficulty, which can take some time, take some luck. It's very dependent on what kind of champions you're running. For the most part, the way to optimize your damage here is through the Brimstone Blessing, which you'll have through maybe a legendary champion. Let's say you have a legendary champion, you throw them this blessing, the Brimstone Blessing. This can give you, for the duration of the fight, the Smite debuff, which does really solid amount of damage to the boss, together with whatever damage your champions are doing. So what you want to be having on the clan boss is always a Smite debuff, so Brimstone Blessing. You want to have a champion that can apply decrease attack, so that basically doubles the runtime of your own team. So decrease attack debuff is so strong because let's say the boss has 100 attack, now it has 50. Instead of taking 100 damage, you take 50. That's bare essential, understanding of the boss, but it gets a little bit more, well, way more comprehensive in terms of what you need to be optimizing to get, maxing out damage. But for now, these sort of tips are crucial, right? Decrease attack, poisons, and smite are crucial. And you get poison debuffs from, for example, from Kale, which is the rare we usually start our runs with on on new accounts out there. So poisons do damage for every turn the boss takes, and it does really solid, consistent damage, and you can have more than one poison on the boss. So HP burns, you can only have one. Poisons, you have more than one. So decrease attack, I would say poisons are very crucial. Defense down is also very nice because you now do a lot more damage on the boss, and that is how you are pushing through with your account. What you need to be worrying on in terms of the dungeons is doing the potions only when they're open. Never use gems to open them, and try to get the highest difficulty that you can. Don't worry too much about progressing here. You'll eventually progress through, and this is very trivial content with no real challenge after some time. So I would say a month in, you should have zero issues with this content of the potion keeps. Iron Twins, again, content that you should only be worrying about once you can farm stage 15, and you should never be using your gems here unless you are a big spender. You need about more than 4,000 gems per month here if you're refreshing the keys, and it's not worth it. The Eternal Soul essences are very nice, but it's just not worth, I would say personally for me, for the gem investment here. You should only be using gems here on Sundays when there's a void difficulty, because this actually gives you double the rewards. Okay, and that is when I use today my 6 runs plus another 6. The other dungeons, so Ice Golem, Spider, Dragons, and Fire Knight, right? Spider and Dragon should be where you spending most amount of time your energy in. So Dragon's Lair, what you want to think is poisons. If you can land poisons on the boss, if you have a poisoner survive all the way to the boss, you should be good. You should be able to take out the boss. Don't worry too much about difficulties higher than stage 20 unless you have a really solid account going at the moment. Higher than stage 20, higher than normal mode, so hard mode can start giving you mythical gear, which is a little bit better since it does have one roll on the items already on one of the substats. So have that in mind. And I would say Dragon is of real necessity when you're starting out for a long time because of the speed set. Raid Shadow Legends is a game where you are taking turns. How you take turns is based on speed. Very, very simple math. If you have 100 speed and the enemies have 200 speed, they'll go 2 times before you. If you have 200 and they have 100, you'll go 2 times before them. The more speed, the better for 90% of the time in this game. The more speed, the better. It doesn't go for all champions. Usually supports should be built with more speed rather than your damage dealers. Damage dealers should be built differently. I'll explain that in a bit. But do Dragon's Lair, then do Spider. Spider for normal mode, HP burns and Terminator control are really nice here. You can check on a 1,000 videos on how to beat the Spider. Hard mode, this is a little bit different. No Terminator control works. You can use nuking of the small spiders to basically take out the boss. There's many more teams that can beat the Spider on hard mode than I would say on normal mode, just because there's just so much more damage dealers and ways to kill the small spiders rather than the boss. But again, the speed requirements here are much higher. And I'll get on the requirements here very shortly. Fire Knight, you should be spending your energy here when you're comfortable farming stage 20. To go from stage 20 to anything higher, it's going to take a long time and a lot of investment. So don't worry if you're stuck on stage 20. Farm this and be okay with that. Farm stage 20 and be okay with that. It still gives you 6-star Savage gear. Ice Golem, basically this one you should be farming only if you are going for a fusion that has like the Ice Golem here as a tournament. Don't worry too much about this. There's specific sets that are good. For example, the Cursed set, the Reflex set, the Provoke set. These are namely good, but everything else is very underwhelming considering the amount of energy you'll be spending to get it. All right, for the Fire Knight, for example, the crit damage, the shield is very nice. The regeneration set, the stun set, the Savage set, all of these have uses. If you compare the two dungeons, you'll see on the option you have for 20 energy on Fire Knight rather than 20 on Ice Golem is just so much different, right? And then The other two dungeons, Sand Devil and Phantom Shogun, these are where you sink your energy when you are end game. And if you are watching this video, you're not end game. You're not even close to end game. Don't do these unless you can farm stage 25. Why am I saying this? Because here is where you get Chaos Dust. You see how much Chaos Dust I have here? I have 5 Chaos Dust. Just to give you guys an understanding, 5 Chaos Dust. I got this from this tournament right here. I got every single one of the rewards here. I have 6,000 points, which was about 50 runs using Super Raid, so 100 normal runs on the hardest difficulty, and I have 5 Chaos Dust. This is how much of an energy sink this dungeon is. It's a dungeon where you waste your energy, right? You get to use 800 energy or so to max one item out in its ascension, and that can be an ascension you don't want. And then you need to use Chaos Dust, which goes incrementally higher. It's random on when you reset that stat, and it's just a huge energy sink. Only do this when you don't even need to consider videos like these as a way to help you play the game. Again, these two dungeons, Sand Devil and Phantom Shogun, are only used by endgame players to get their items to be much better. There's strategies that you can do where you don't care about the Chaos Dust at all. You just level up a little bit your boots, for example, to get the speed upgrades there. Eventually on one of the items you'll have it without needing Chaos Dust. But that is not really a strategy. That is being hopeful and still spending a lot of energy rather than just spending that energy on Dragon Slayer or Fire Knight when there's a 2x or a 3x going on for speed sets or savage sets, which would give you, net you, much better results. The event dungeon, this is currently closed. This is very gear specific, very champion specific to actually beat it. The rewards are not always worth it. Some of these sets are okay. The last one, the Chronophage or whatever it's called, was crap. Definitely not worth it. For newer players out there, you can farm the lower difficulties just fine, but again, the other dungeons are way worth it. And something I forgot to mention, guys, in terms of just accuracy here, you need accuracy to land debuffs like the poison and stuff. And for every one stage that you're trying to push through, for every one stage that you're trying to beat here, you get you need to have 10 accuracy or so to actually get your debuffs to land. So for, let's say, stage 20, you need about 200 accuracy. 150 works, but 200 to be safe. And then for hard mode, you translate that to, you know, another 15 stages on top of that. So that's 35. This is considered stage 35, if you ask me. So 350 accuracy for this one in order to get the debuffs to land. So that's it for these dungeons, guys. Very specific on each account on how you'll be able to beat them. I don't know your accounts out there that you might be watching this video and what kind of champions you have. So you have a look, but basically, as I said, like poisons here, HP burns for Ice Golem, Terminator control for spiders on normal, and then nuking for hard mode. Then Fire Knight is Terminator control on normal, and then freeze for hard mode. But hard mode is out of reach for a lot of players out there. Very difficult. Very, very difficult hard mode if you compare the other three dungeons, and especially Dragon and Spider hard mode. So after that we have Faction Wars. So Faction Wars, when should you be doing Faction Wars? You should be doing Faction Wars every single day because you get glyphs from here. These glyphs help your items be better. Don't use your glyphs if you're first starting out. Just don't use them. All right, stop using, don't use them. No, don't use your glyphs. Save them until you have a better understanding of your account and when to use your glyphs. Your glyphs will give you bonuses on your stats, except for crit rate and crit damage. Those cannot be boosted from glyphs, okay? These glyphs, you should be saving a lot. A lot of these glyphs will give you benefits to your champion's stats. And speed is one of the most crucial stats that you can boost with glyphs, okay? Like you can get a +10, for example, +12 now with the hard mode on Faction Wars. you should be saving these and using them only when you're comfortable with using your glyphs, especially the speed ones. You cannot get your glyphs back. You cannot remove your glyphs. Once you use a glyph, it's a random chance of you get 3 to 8 speed. If you have the +5 here, for example, it doesn't mean you'll only get more than +5. You can get 3 here, and then this glyph is wasted. It's a complete random chance, and it's built like that in order to make you, well, frustrate you, but also to make you have this as sort of a limited resource. So only use your glyphs when you're very comfortable with using your glyphs and when to use them. Do faction wars every single day though, because you only get a certain amount of keys and a certain amount of glyphs available, and the rewards are random, so you won't always get speed glyphs, for example. And then the final reward for normal difficulty, which is Lydia, is insane, and it's the only place where you can get Lydia. You can compare Lydia to the hard mode version of the faction wars. Lydia is just so much better and more useful throughout the time. Arena. Should you be doing Arena? I would say yes, you must. You should be doing Arena. Should be trying to push as high as possible. Once you get into gold 4 or gold 5, there's a maximum limit of losses that counts all the way to 15. If you have 15 losses per day, then after that, you don't lose any rating. So the goal is to go to gold 4 or gold 5. When you are losing fights there, you won't, eventually you won't drop in rating. You can stay here blindly. Players won't even find you to attack you, okay? Sometimes. And you can stay there and farm the maximum amount of bars and, well, it's not the maximum amount of bars, but the maximum amount of medals for the difficulty that you're facing. Platinum is the best, but it's the most difficult to get into, and it's just not worth it. There's no insane rewards here that are worth it, okay, guys? And basically nobody cares about Classic Arena Platinum anymore, except for the huge spenders, which you just realize that you won't ever be able to compete there, ever. Right? Even if you're a new player who's a spender, you won't be able to compete against a similar spender that's been playing longer, just because they have got better glyphs than you, for example. All right. So farm gold 4, gold 5, get up there eventually, and you should be fine. That helps you build your great hole bonuses, which it's going to take you a long time to max these out, but these are worth it. And the way that you should be maxing these out is basically, I would recommend, in terms of upgrades, resistance as being number 1. Actually, well, you can do, I was always recommending accuracy, but accuracy now it's just so much easier to get because of stuff like the siege mode and the forge. It's very dependent on where you're at. But let's say you're somebody who does crit damage. It's okay. It doesn't change much on the account. Accuracy, 80 accuracy though, is maybe, again, I would say the best thing to do. Even if it's so easily acquired, eventually you'll need a lot of accuracy. Eventually you'll face content that needs 500 accuracy. And the easiest way to get it without blessings and an accuracy aura and an increased accuracy buff, which we didn't have when I first started out, is to have the great hole bonuses, which are, these are stats that go to all modes. So you want to go accuracy. I would say resistance is very strong and definitely underappreciated, but accuracy, resistance, very strong. Crit damage is very nice, especially for voids champions, since those are very special, and like Cold Heart helps her to do a lot more damage through here. And then defense, HP, and attack being the last upgrade. Area bonuses, these are so much different. These are through live arena. Most basic thing I would recommend, guys, is use your bonuses for the live arena for Fire Knight and Faction Wars if you're having difficulties in there, because this is now available here to push. Fire Knight is very, very difficult. You need the ignore defense. So use a team that optimizes through that one. Live arena, the way that you do live arena, guys, is you're facing opponents. You have choice of five champions, okay? And the easiest way to push and be successful is always using 2 damage dealers when you're picking champions. Always pick 2 champions that are damage dealers, because this one will allow you to not get banned out. If they ban your damage dealer, you're screwed. So have that in mind. There'll always be 1 ban available. Use that into your advantage. You cannot lose rating. You can only go up until you reach gold. For Tag Arena, this is the most boring part of Raid Shadow Legends. Everybody hates this. I hate it. It's just a mode that I don't really enjoy doing, and there's a lot of times that I don't even farm this, so I drop in tiers. I don't even bother with this. The rewards here are okay. The best reward is the Sacred Shard, but you need to be in gold tier for this one, so it can take some time. Everything else is very situational and it's very grindy. This should have been changed a long time ago, but the developers are very slow to apply changes. But this basically needs to be done for the missions of Romantu. Have that in mind. Do it if you got extra time, but honestly, there's already so many things to do in the game. Doom Tower, very, very specific on how you push with this one and how you beat this mode. Basically, to beat the Doom Tower, you need to be doing the stages here, the floors. You should be running a team. And this is a very basic tip for everyone. You should be running a team here for the floors that has some sort of stun, freeze, true fear, in order to control the enemies. If you control the enemies, you'll eventually take them out and run through them. All right. This is like a very optimized team that can use Seer as a damage dealer to melt through the champions, but this is not a new player kind of team. What I've mentioned is, though, a new player kind of team. And then for each boss that you'll be facing, you need to use a specific guide to beat that boss. Each boss has their own strategy to be beaten. For example, the Magma Dragon here, you shouldn't be taking any, I believe, HP burns here, because the boss uses them as heal over time. Or is it poisons? One of the two. After a while, you won't even care about that, and you're just going to go strictly with damage dealers, and you melt it through. Very easy boss, for example. But the Nether Spider is a little bit different. This one, you need heal reduction as an example on the boss, and not be targeting the small spider. There's many different guides that you use to beat this one. And the list goes on and on for the different bosses that are available for you to face here. These bosses, though, give you rewards that you can use for the forge to get items. And the rewards that you get here are useful because these are items you can farm for free to forge and get your account to become stronger. Then we have the Cursed City. The Cursed City, this is very account specific on how you're going to beat it, because every single one of these stages is limited to specific factions. And if you don't have the champions for those factions, you won't see them here. All right? You won't see your champions here. Very specific on faction and role. So it is a very difficult content to face here. And it's good if you could beat the bosses, because the bosses give you a chance to get the Merciless set, which is an even better version of the Savage set. So always try to push these if you have the time and you need to be putting that effort. Okay. Next one up is the Siege. This is basically an arena mode where you place defenses and then the enemies place defenses, the enemy clans. You face each other. It all depends on your account. There's some good rewards here, such as Lamassu. There's also the reward of the Feral set, which is very strong in terms of giving you small benefits to your account's accuracy, to your champion's accuracy for your account. And it's, again, very dependent on which clan you're running, what kind of account you have, what kind of champions you have. So I can't cover really any strategies here for new players. All of these modes, by the way, unlock at specific levels, so don't worry if you don't see them just yet. Grim Forest is the latest addition to the game. If you're brand new, go with the normal difficulty and try to beat this. I'm currently even doing an epics only challenge, which I'm trying to see if I can beat this content with epics only. It should be doable, but this new content is actually doable for new players out there. It unlocks after a specific time. It's very dependent on what champions you have running with the deck of champions you've chosen. And you can use any champions you want, but specific champions here work best. You need a mixture of both damage dealers and supports. And I would say also having a variety of debuffs available, such as defense down, freeze, heal reduction, provoke, stun. All of these debuffs work very well together. because some specific bosses can be cheesed, if you want to say, if you have those debuffs. Every boss though is different, and not all bosses need those sort of debuffs to be beaten. Some of them can just be straight up nuked down using sheer amount of power, which you can also get through the trade cards, which I would say for newer accounts out there, resistance is going to be huge here because it helps you resist the buffs, the debuffs that the enemies will be placing. That's basically it. For the Grim Forest, I'm not going to cover through each of these and how you should be going through. Just enjoy this mode. It's the newest mode, and I believe it's the most fun thing Raid had added since a long time now. Going into I want to cover a little bit more on how you're gearing up your champions. So I won't go into depth on every single champion. I'll give you guys an example of maybe the latest champion that I enjoy using. I would say Leonardo. He's defense, so he's defensive based damage dealer. You'll see that through his skills. He does damage based on defense, so I built him with more defense rather than anything else. You want to be building your champions with 100% crit rate and then a lot of crit damage if you can. If they are champions that can apply debuffs, some accuracy helps too, and resistance not always helps also for them to do to be protected a little bit from enemies. You want to keep in mind their speed, okay? For more endgame accounts, speed is crucial. You need to have your champions be fast enough. For newer accounts, I would say, let me see if I have something that I used maybe a long time ago. Maybe it has like a lower end of speed. Okay, my Luria here, you see she's got about 180 speed. She's running random gear that I had available for her. And you see that she has 180 speed. That's good for a damage dealer if you're building them right when you're starting out. Supports, on the other hand, they need to be more than 220 speed to be considered worthwhile. So Seal of the Drakes, I would say the best free-to-play support out there that we get through daily rewards anyway. Crucial to have her with a lot of speed and accuracy, for example, in order to be doing anything really worthwhile with her. Speed is very crucial, and the stun that you can do is very nice. She's got a revive. It's just tremendous champion. In terms of gearing, what I mentioned before, that speed is king, that is the speed set. So when you're gearing out a champion, you want to be considering the speed is key. So you want to have, let's say, speed on your items, speed on your boots, speed on the substats, and then if you can, speed through the glyphs, okay, and then boosting that up. The gloves, chest piece, and boots can roll with a flat stat on the top side. So here it could have been defense flat. So defense, 15 defense, for example, instead of 50%. That is not worth it. Those items are, for the most part, considered trash and should be sold. That is the way to go. You need to be very selective on what gear you need to be keeping and selling when you're playing Raid Shadow Legends. That is key into having more silver and then using that silver to level up items. Don't go and randomly upgrade all your items to 16 when you're starting out. Always consider that silver is a very limited resource and it takes a long time to farm. So even leveling an item to level 8 should be something that you want to consider. Look at what I've done. I've leveled this item to level 8. This is now considered trash for me, for my own account. Even taking it to 12, I know this will not be good. Even if this rolled on speed, it would not be good. The only way that this is salvaged at all is if I level this up to 16. It rolls defense percent again, and that's when I could have used maybe a rework or chaos ore to try and see if I can re-roll all of these stats and get the stat that I want. But this is already a trash item for my account. And even though I leveled it up, I'm still gonna sell it because it just takes up space that I should be doing for something else. This is also an example of a bad item. This is the speed set, and what does it have? Attack percent on the top. For most endgame accounts, this is not worth the effort. You want to be using damage dealer sets. So the savage set, the lethal set, the merciless set, for example. The speed set will have no room for your damage dealers unless you're running a new account where any set is possible to be used as long as the stats are considered to be good. So for example, this one has attack percent and crit rate and speed. Those are good stats for a new account, not good stats for my account. So this one already rolled bad, like one roll, one roll, one roll. This is very bad for me, but for new accounts out there, this is a very nice possible boot upgrade for one of their damage dealers that can utilize both speed and, let's say, the Savage set. All right, but very dependent on your account. For the most part though, you should be selling your 4-star and lower gear. If you're somebody who's starting out and you've managed to beat Dragon 13 on normal, you should have 0 4-star gear and lower. So 1, 2, 3, 4-star. Should be selling all of those if you can beat stage 13 and higher, because that's when you start getting 6-star gear. If you can do that, which is, guys, you should be able to beat stage 13 less than a week of playing the game. In less than a week, you should be able to beat stage 13. If not, then you are maybe very inactive or not paying attention to anything in game, just running it on auto, which is not recommended. Not running it on auto, but not paying attention to anything that's happening in the game. So if you're seeing resist all the time, the game is trying to tell you something and you're not listening, right? You're trying to land the debuffs and you're not landing them because you're lacking accuracy, and you're not listening to the resist that you're seeing on the screen. So there's that. And even though we have a big inventory space now, like 2,000 items that you can hold, if you're not somebody who sells your items and is very careful on when they're doing their upgrades and what they're upgrading, you'll have a bad time later on managing through all of those, and you'll be swamped by the possible options of what you need to be upgrading and what you need to be selling. So you need to be doing what I'm doing right now, is basically going through your gear, slowly upgrading them when there's events going on, and making sure that you have a good control of what items you've upgraded. And eventually you'll be comfortable enough with just knowing what your account needs when you see all your items. So knowing what stats am I looking for the Savage set? I need maybe a better weapon for the Savage set. So you'll have a better attention to those, which might give you like better upgrades for your champions that are running the Savage set. You cannot mix and match sets and get the bonuses. That's not how it works with the game. You need the specific 4 pieces from each set to get the bonus. That's how it works. I don't know why I've mentioned that, but I felt like I should have. So there's that. In terms of accessories, this becomes way more difficult. Accessories are so difficult now to manage because of all the different sets and ways to acquire them. Each faction has their own sets that they need to acquire. It's very specific. So you can't equip Shadowkin rings on a Ogre Tribes champion. And with that in mind, it's very difficult to get them. There's different sets. Each set, now you need to be holding a few of the pieces in order to complete the bonuses. The Stone Skin sets are amazing for PvP. The Merciless sets are amazing for both PvP and PvE because they give you a lot of ignore defense. But for the most part, players running a PvP centered build will run Savage and Stone Skin, or Lethal and Stone Skin for the most part. And when you are getting these accessories for a long time, all of them will be useful. Eventually, you'll have to run again the same things to consider, that you're selling 4-star and lower accessories and keeping 5-star and higher. Once you acquire more and more, you'll have to start selling these, and you have to be even more careful with accessories when you're upgrading them, because getting one accessory to level 8, if you compare it to, let's say, a pair of gloves, it's way more expensive to get accessories leveled up rather than normal gear. So these are more expensive to level up. You get more silver when you sell them, but that does not matter when you level them up. When you level them up, it doesn't give you more silver when you sell them, right? But you can be selective on which ones you keep and which ones you sell. Eventually, you'll reach a point where you don't even care about the normal accessories and you care about more for the accessories you get through content. But for newer players out there, Any accessories that you farm are basically worth it, but it takes a long time to reach there, guys. It takes a long time to reach there. These sort of events, like the gear enhancement events and tournaments that you'll see, each one of them has specific strategies in order to get these events done, all right, and tournaments done. Consider that, guys. It's not easy. It's not easy to get these done, and you shouldn't be trying to aim to do all of these tournaments and all of the events that pop up. Some you should just skip and just do other things, such as getting more champions leveled up, getting more of your masteries going for your champions, and making sure that when you're building your champions, you have the right masteries. So for example, some champions are much better using the War Master mastery rather than the Helm Smasher mastery. Very simple things that you want to consider. Like new accounts out there, basically every champion will run War Master for the most part. If you have a multi-hit champion, Giant Slayer can work much better, but again, very situational on whether you should be using one over the other. For example, if you're using a champion that is mostly PvP focused, you should run Helm Smasher, but Helm Smasher can work for certain situations, certain modes, even for PvE, right? So you can work both for PvP and PvE. Other times, War Master still remains better, but it all depends on your champions that you're running and how you're building every one of your champions. So this video actually went too long, guys. I think I covered a lot as a way for you to get prepared going into 2026. If you are somebody who wants to play the game and be more consistent with following through and just enjoying the game. So should you go blindly with all of these tips that I've given? Again, no, because your account might be very different to the account of, let's say, a friend of yours that started the same day, the same second. You will have completely different accounts. The gear that you get is completely different. All right. The enemies that you face might be completely different in the sense of you might be getting more resist when you're attacking, more accuracy. You might be wasting more energy when you're attacking compared to your friend, stuff like that. You'll have different champions, different levels, different times you're active versus your friends, different choices and all that. So it's very dependent on what you're running. But again, these tips that I've given, I feel like are very, very general guidelines to help players out. If you're somebody who is basically stuck and you're about mid-game, and I consider players, there's just starting out, there's beginners, I would say. I'll put those two together. So starting out, you're a beginner, mid-game, late game, and end game. Just 4 different stages. So if you're a beginner, you've just started out, in order to reach mid-game, you need to be beating Clan Boss Ultra Nightmare. This is mid-game nowadays. It used to be the end game of Raid. But now the end game of Raid is Chimera and Curse City. Green Forest, I don't consider end game. I consider this late game. So what is the difference between mid game and late game? Late game, you're a player who is very comfortable with the majority of things that you do. And if you're late game, you get into late game once you finish and get Lydia. Lydia is when you start being on the beginning of being a late game player. Why? Because that's when you start farming all the difficulties on normal mode, for example, on the highest difficulty to get your good glyphs going, and you start to dip your toes into hard mode, faction wars, which is very difficult, very, very specific also on the faction you have. That's when you get into late game. Late game is also when you're farming basically everything on the hardest difficulty, but you're not very comfortable with farming it on the hardest difficulty. You're okay, you can farm it, but you're not very comfortable. You get into endgame when you have 0 questions about the game. For the most part, only maybe PvP is the thing that you consider. And endgame is only to players out there who have been playing this for quite a while. You've finished your Grey Hole bonuses. You start to do area bonuses. You're doing Curse City. Endgame is just think of everything that you can do in this game. You can do it with no sweat, basically. That's endgame. No sweat, no issues, no real challenge is when you are endgame. That is a reality of Raid. Raid is a very grindy game. Again, guys, don't push yourself to face others and don't consider that is a competition between other players. There's not. Enjoy the game at your own pace. Play the game at your own pace. Think of the game as you like and enjoy it for what things you enjoy, and that will allow you to have the best time. Don't worry about being efficient and inefficient unless that's something that you also enjoy, not wasting stuff in the game and some people enjoy that. Have that in mind, guys. Play the game, enjoy it. You got more questions, leave them down in the comments below. Maybe other players help you out in pushing forward. That's it. Thank you all. Have a good year. I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.